Policy Network is a think tank which has, if you like, a centre-left orientation. But today we have a cross-party panel, people from all kinds of different viewpoints, because we think that engaging in that debate to try and establish a new national consensus about Europe is terribly important. Second point, the only, as it were, party point, I'm the Labour spokesman on Europe in the House of Lords, and the only party point I want to make, the only party point I'll make in the whole day, is that there is a cross-party consensus about the importance of the City of London as a huge national asset to the UK. We may have different views about how different aspects of it should be regulated, but its importance, its importance to our economy and to our national life is absolutely crucial. And I think that that's something everyone would agree on.
I think that you should also recognise that some of the things that are criticised have actually come from the European Parliament. Sometimes we try to stop them, but in fact, bonuses, entirely European Parliament, financial transaction tax, actually, European Parliament, that pushed the Commission from having more of a levy that would have been more UK-friendly into the financial transaction tax. It was taken up, of course, by ministers, especially in the Eurozone where they were struggling with their debt problems, and they do actually know that it's the citizen that pays at the end of the line, but actually it's a popular tax. I mean, they couldn't actually believe their luck that citizens wanted this tax and they were going to get some money. I was there. I go to the informal ECOFINs and I heard the conversation round the table. So now they're realising that it might do quite a lot of bad things, including actually mucking up their national debt. They're looking for ways to get out of it without too much egg on the face, and or to find one that actually does work to bring funds in without it causing damage. And there is an issue, actually, that you can't work out whether or not it harms the single market until it's fully formed. So I do think that there is a problem with the way in which the Commission has to sign off in advance that it's not going to harm the single market, not at the end, when you know, I mean, they should have to sign that off again, because I think that it is challengeable, actually, upon that basis. Input as well into the Commission consultation process is a very important source. A lot of UK industry does that quite well. The trade associations do that quite well. You don't have to do it all the time. I would like to see small stakeholders do more, even if they only want to answer one question, answer that one question. And I think that that would help the Commission quite a lot. One should also note that that is very potent. No, I don't want it is an impotent answer. We want to do it a different way because is a very powerful answer, and it's a powerful answer coming from a member and from of the EU and from industry within the EU.
Britain has benefited so much from the single market. London has benefited so much from the single market. It would be entirely illogical, let's say, to withdraw from that. I think you could even see a perfect correlation, that's my first point, a perfect correlation between the market integration in Europe, which the ECB were been showing over the last years, and which was always growing until 2007, 2008, and the growth of the city. I think, let's say, if you were to draw that, say, from 1989, 1990 until 2007, you would see a perfect line between, let's say, the growth of the city and the growth of cross-border business in the EU. Of course, since then it has declined because of the financial crisis, and we know, let's say, what the reaction of member states has been, let's say, to withdraw within national borders and to support national institutions. We have seen from that moment onwards also the decline, relative decline of the size of the city. And that is extremely important to know. So, from that simple comparison, it's clear, let's say, that the success of the city, but also of London to a large degree, because Arlene was saying this to me before this panel, that growth, or say employment in financial sector is not or in services is not only based in the city, it's also in many other places around the city, or mainly the whole of the UK, decline of cross-border financial business leads to a decline in business for the UK.
The future for what we have here in London and in my region, in Liverpool and Manchester, all the financial services I have, for what we have, which is a European and a global asset, I don't think we want to be a loophole. I don't think we want to be a regulatory loophole, because we don't retain our competitive edge with that. If we're a regulatory loophole, we will not continue to track business if we're always arguing to be outside of rules and regulations. What I think Mark said very clearly, and that's a point for debate, is we want proportionate and appropriate rules that enable us to continue to do business and enable us to continue to be that global asset. But if you want to do that, it's essential, therefore, to influence legislation. And the point's already been made. We don't want to end up like Switzerland. We don't want to have Geneva as a financial services centre where you want to have the access to markets, but in order to get the access to markets, you still have to comply with the rules, but you have no influence in shaping or making those rules. So you get what comes down the line, or as we say about Norway, it's a facts democracy. You get facts what the rules are, and you put them into your own national legislation. So what would I say, because now I'm not going to make a party political point, but I'm going to make a political point because I'm a politician elected to represent people in my constituency who sent me to Brussels to do a job, is how do you not influence EU legislation? Well, I think what you don't do is spontaneously wield a veto at 2 a.m. in the morning. And then you walk away, actually, with nothing in your pocket. That, for me, is not influence. I think you don't run to the European Court of Justice to cry foul every time you don't get what you want from other EU member states. That, for me, is an admission of failure. It means you haven't influenced or used your status, and in fact, you're not therefore affecting outcomes. That, for me, is a little bit like, the child in the playground that says all the time, the others don't want to play with me, so I'm going to keep running to teacher.
The question we were asked was, indeed, is Britain still a player? And it seems to me we should all recognise that Britain, until the financial crisis, Britain was very strongly a player. Nobody really questioned the fact that the City of London was the main financial centre in Europe, despite its absence from the euro. And few people questioned that the British therefore had having the most at stake, were the right people to steer financial regulation. We had the right officials in place. We had Sharon Bowles looking after our interests in the European Parliament. People thought this was rather like the Germans looking after the car industry, or to some extent the French looking after agriculture. The financial crisis substantially changed that. I think the view that I encountered across Europe was that the British had got it all wrong. Deregulation had been a huge mistake. The setting up of the FSA was a terrible thing. We had been preaching liberalisation and financial deregulation for many years, and we had caused the crisis in some way. I mean, that's not fair, but that was a very common view across Europe. And I think that's made the notion that Britain should be the determinant of financial services regulation and the guardian of the financial services industry much harder to sustain. And I think that's why there is such a big challenge for the UK looking to the future, that people think we failed. And the traditional suspicion of finance that you find all around Europe has spread not just through France, but now to Germany and other countries. There is a general view that finance is a problem, not a solution. And we continue to have to fight that battle. That's my first point. Second point, I think the difficulty of the UK in defending the financial services industry and fending off some of the regulation that Mark Bowyer referred to, and where we are doing a good job through some of our MEPs and indeed some officials in Brussels. I think the difficulty is made worse by two other things. The first, obviously, is the absence from the euro. In the first 10 years or so, I think this mattered not at all. London rapidly became the centre for most financial services trading as the euro established itself. But I think the euro crisis has clearly given a big push towards integration of the 17, soon to become 18 when Latvia joins. Sorry, is Latvia joining now? I thought it was joining on the 1st of January. Anyway, it will become 18. The ins and outs divide is there now. It's stronger than it was. As we discovered from the compromise on the European Banking Authority, that does not mean that the UK is going to be completely ignored. The UK can indeed still exert a strong influence if it plays its cards right.